Hi, it's Sol from fynk once more. In the last video, we looked at the core settings of fynk. In this one, I would like to show you the more advanced settings that you can set up to customize your fynk experience to your own particular workflows and business. Let's get started. In your account settings, you will first find the General section. This is where you define things like your account name, the default account language, and your standard signature type. You can choose between simple, advanced, and qualified. Here you can also set up the two-factor authentication to give your account additional security. The next step are the tags. You can think of tags like smart labels for your documents, and you use them to help you organize and filter out contracts in a much faster way. For example, if you want to label all your NDAs with an NDA tag, or maybe if you're working on a new project and you want all the documents related to this project to be categorized in a certain way, you can do so. Then in the future, instead of searching manually through hundreds of files, you can simply filter out by tags. This makes working with your documents fast, clean, and scalable. Now let's look at branding. Under the menu Brand Identity, you can customize the external experience of fynk so it matches your company's branding. You can upload your logo, you can define your brand colors, and preview how emails are going to look when you send them out. These are the emails that you send out when requesting a signature or when letting other parties know that a document has been finalized. One tip here for you is to always make sure that there's enough contrast between the colors that you choose, so then the text is easily readable. Here you can also set up a default email signature for all of your emails. Now let's look at Playbooks. Playbooks are, in my opinion, the most powerful feature in fynk. A playbook is essentially an AI-powered contract review checklist. You will define which clauses, rules, or conditions should exist in a contract, depending on the type of contract. And fynk will automatically check if these things are there or they're missing. Here we can see two playbooks. We're going to create the English version of the employment contracts playbook. We will give it a name and a description. And now we are able to add conditions to it. In this example, an employment contract, these type of documents should include certain clauses. For example, a probation clause, a section for confidentiality, and termination terms. So we're going to make sure that each of the employment contracts that we upload into fynk are analyzed to ensure these sections are not missing. We will include the probation clause, and here we can use AI to generate the prompt. It's also good to keep in mind that each of these conditions have different implications. So depending on how critical this section not being in the contract is, we have to choose between a red flag or an orange flag. This is simply for the person who's going to be dealing with these contracts to get alerted in the correct way. I guess an employment contract not having a probation clause is quite a big deal, but it's not a red flag. So we're going to set it to orange flag. But if you ask me, a confidentiality clause is rather important. So here I'm going to give it a red flag, so a critical status. I like to differentiate between the red and the orange flags as something that must be changed immediately or something that's a warning that maybe it's worth double checking. Okay, now that I have the 3 example conditions within my playbook, I'm going to apply it to a contract. And here we are in an employment contract, also in English. And we're going to go to the flags, approvals, and here we can apply the playbook. And here's the playbook that we created a few seconds ago. And it's executing, and in a couple of seconds, we should see the results. There you go. It says that it's found some orange flags, and if you click on them, it warns you that the document should be reviewed. And here you have it, that the probationary period does not specify the duration. So it doesn't coincide with the playbook that we created. Okay, back to settings. Now we're going to look at headers and footers. If you normally work with different document types, you can create different layouts for each of them. So for example, maybe your employment contracts require a different footer than your NDAs or your supplier agreements, because in the footer you can add as well certain details that might not be needed for some documents. You can fully customize what should appear in the final PDF output, both for the header and for the footer. And you can toggle on or off if you'd like to visualize it when you open the document in your browser. Okay, now we're going to exports. You can export documents directly from your document list at any time. And naturally, then you will see them underneath this menu, exports. Once in the document list, you can select the documents that you want to export, and you will click on this item. You can give it a name, and you can choose what type of content to export. Full archive or only metadata. This second option generates an Excel file that contains structured contract information that you can further analyze or process outside of fynk. Now let's talk about document workflow settings. These are account-wide rules that help you standardize how your team works in fynk. You can, for instance, require team assignment. This means every uploaded document has to belong to at least one team. Or you can ensure that internal comments and suggestions are never visible to external parties during collaboration. These seemingly small settings make a huge difference once multiple teams start working in fynk together. And last but not least, integrations. Depending on your plan, you can connect fynk with tools like HubSpot, Pipedrive, Zapier, Salesforce. For example, you could automatically pull data from your HubSpot account into your contracts. This is a game changer for sales, finance, and legal teams. Or you can receive a Slack notification the minute a document gets signed. And if you want even more flexibility, you can use the webhooks. You can think of webhooks as automatic event notifications between systems. So the systems are just talking to each other and letting each other know what's going on in the other one. An example is the moment a contract is signed in fynk, another system instantly receives the information and triggers a new workflow automatically. This all translates into less manual follow-up and more automation across your entire process. Okay, and with that, we've seen now all of the major settings and customization options within fynk. It's your turn to go test it and let us know if you have any questions. Good luck and see you soon.